Yesterday, we got a rematch between two of the best teams in the NBA, the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Denver Nuggets. A few minutes into the game, we saw Thunder head coach Mark Daigneault with an early sub. Wait a minute. Who is that at the scorer's table? Oh, it's rookie Dylan Jones, who averages 9 minutes per game for the Thunder. Seems weird he's getting in this game, let alone this early on. We go with a time jump to the 5:42 mark in the first quarter. Shea gets fouled by Christian Braun and will go to the line. I'm interested in seeing who Jones comes in for. Skipping ahead to the 5:20 mark in the first quarter, and Jones is still waiting to sub in. Shouldn't he have gone in already after the foul? Well, maybe he was coming in for the shooter. Solid idea, but after that Braun foul call, Thunder head coach Mark Daigneault was hit with a technical foul. And even after that, still no Dylan Jones sub into the game. So what was he doing over there? Was he there for moral support? Was he there as an intimidation factor? Why was Dylan Jones just chilling next to the scorer's table? I asked Mark Daigneault after the game about this play and got an answer I never could have thought of for why he did it. Early on in the game, there was some frustration, it seemed like, from you off that I Heart foul where he got hit in the face and there was a no call. What was sort of the situation with Dylan going up to the scorer's table and then ended up not subbing in at that time?
Yeah, well, I was frustrated with the Hart foul because there's a clear misplay, and I thought it was an easy play to get. There's no one near at the basket. The permanent sub idea is, there's a ball goes out of bounds in the NBA. The officials are the ones in charge of the pace of how fast the ball gets inbounded. Jokic is savvy, and if he was, if I was coaching Jokic, I'd appreciate him doing this too, but he gets the ball very quickly from them, and he starts the fast break. And the officials start the fast break for him because he demands the ball, they hand it to him, and he zips it up the floor. We had a situation a couple of years ago where we're at Golden State, we had a sub up, and they missed the sub. They inbounded the ball so fast. And so I put a sub up tonight, and I was like, hey, you're going to have to call him in every single out of bounds in order to, slow the game down if you guys are going to give them an advantage by him handing them the ball fast. So they delayed a game that. I don't know if there's a rule against doing that. I think you can have a sub up there and choose not to put him in the game. But it was something that, I went to. If they're going to quick the ball in for them, then I'm going to do that.
For those unfamiliar, players in the NBA today are smarter than ever and constantly looking for different ways to find advantages in their games. And hunting those advantages has led to some creative ways that players have started inbounding the ball. Chris Paul, as the NBA's resident rulebook memorizer, is often guilty of this. Here he is after a Jordan Poole turnover. CP3 rips the ball away from Poole in an attempt to get the ball and inbound the ball against an unset Wizards defense. Poole took exception to the rip and an altercation started, but if it weren't for that, Paul would have successfully sped up the process of getting the ball inbounded. It just so happens to be the case that the Denver Nuggets have the #1 fast break offense in the NBA, averaging just under 20 points per game in transition. So wouldn't it make logical sense that Denver would want to inbound the ball as fast as possible? Especially with who I would consider the greatest passer in basketball history? Wouldn't you try to take advantage of a defense that wasn't ready with all those previously stated factors? Especially against a Thunder defense that coincidentally ranks as the best in the NBA at limiting fast break points and keeping their opponents to just 11 per game. That's what the Nuggets were doing, which to their credit, great strategy. Mark Daigneault just mentioned he would tell Jokic to do the same if he was his coach. The Nuggets' approach was paying dividends early as it gave them a slight edge in attacking an unset Thunder defense, which would have been totally cool with the Thunder other than the fact that OKC was not allowed to inbound the ball at the same speed as Denver. Mark kept Dylan Jones as a quote-unquote permanent sub to slow down the Nuggets basically to the pace that the Thunder were allowed to inbound the ball from. Every single out-of-bounds call, foul, or technical, the officials would now have to look over to the scorer's table before giving Jokic or any other Nugget the ball. And according to the NBA's own rulebook, nothing is saying you can't have, in Mark's words, a permanent sub who you decide to never check in, and if the officials didn't call OKC for a delay of game for having him there, which again is not a rule, then Mark would have kept Dylan Jones camped out there all night long.
He's just standing there, menacingly!
Here's an example from a few years ago of Jokic going out of his way to grab the ball from what appeared to be a fan and actually turned out to be the Phoenix owner, Matt Ishbia. Jokic had this to say about why he did this.
Why did you take it upon yourself to retrieve the ball?
What?
Why did you take it upon yourself to retrieve the ball? The referee could have retrieved the ball.
Because Okc was on ground and we had an advantage 5-4.
What I have been trying to explain was that this is not a Nuggets versus Thunder problem. This is about it being the same across the board. What the Thunder, I think, are trying to express is they don't care if quick inbounds or slow inbounds are the go-to for the officials that night, as long as the same speed is applied to both teams. I had someone point out to me on Twitter last night that according to the NBA rulebook, officials have to give the ball to the player as quickly as they want it. So obviously that just means the Thunder weren't asking for the ball fast enough. I love the NBA, but let's be honest here. The NBA has not been the best of the best when it comes to enforcing every single one of its rules to the letter of the law. Chris Paul for the Thunder a handful of years ago literally flipped a game, calling out the otherwise would have been an invisible part of the rulebook for most people when he mentioned that Jordan Bell, while subbing in, didn't have his shirt tucked in, and that's a delay of game. CP3 gets the whistle, OKC makes the free throw, and later it leads to the Steven Adams to Dennis Schroeder touchdown pass to force OT in a game where Thunder got a win that would not have happened if not for CP3's basketball sicko eye. Think of lane violations. It's a very simple thing. When a free throw shooter is taking their shots from the line, players are not allowed to cross the lane if they're lined up around here, and players behind the three-point line prior to the ball being in the air aren't allowed to cross that either. This is a rule. It's a rule down to a lot of youth basketball leagues, yet it is very often broken at the NBA level and never called. So why isn't that enforced? The answer is because there's some referee discretion at hand. So are you saying there's preferential treatment from the referees towards certain players? Yes, I am. And for the most part, it isn't a problem. You look at most of the current free throw leaders and almost the entire list is made up of stars and superstars. But is it the all-star status that gets them those calls, or is it the calls that gives them the all-star status? In the same vein, certain players have a longer or shorter leash on technical fouls with officials for a variety of reasons, like having a reputation for being a guy who often goes off on referees or have been teed up a ton in the past. So is it possible with that line of thinking that maybe Jokic gets the slight benefit that maybe Isaiah Joe or Lou Dort doesn't get? I sure think so. And I don't think it's cheating to try to level out the playing field for these opportunities in the fashion that Mark went about it. All credit to these guys like Jokic, Draymond, CP3, and the Kyle Lowrys of the world for finding these advantages and being able to act on them. All the Thunder want is the chance to do the same, even if they had to go about it in an unconventional way. Here's what Mark had to say about the inspiration behind the designated permanent sub.
I'm just curious, like, I've never heard of that strategy for the permanent sub up there.
Yeah, it's creative.
Did you think of that, or like when did you?
Like I said, we were at Golden State a couple years ago. The referee hands the ball to, the inbounder, who also was demanding the ball. We had a sub up. To me, that's an unfair advantage because we teach our team, like, hey, get ready quickly. If they inbound the ball, look to gain that advantage. We don't get the ball that fast. So you can put a sub up, and on an out of bounds or a free throw, you can opt not to put that guy in the game. And I just put him up there, and I told them, like, look, I'm going to leave him here all night. You're going to have to call him in on every out of bounds unless you're going to, delegate the game fairly for both teams on out of bounds calls. So that's what I was doing. They gave me a delay of game. I don't know if that's a rule, but that's why I pulled him back. I would have left him there all night.
But what do you think? Is this something that needs fixing from the NBA? Do you think this actually creates an advantage if you can get the ball in faster? Is it cheating to have a permanent sub? And what other NBA rules do you wish were enforced a little more strictly? Let me know down in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed what you saw today, make sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to my channel so I can keep making fun Thunder and NBA content like this for all of you, hit that notifications bell so you never miss out on any of my future uploads, and as always, until next time, thanks for watching.